We'll have a good show.
Yes.
We'll have a good show.
Well, hello. Yes, it's you might have heard David's voice there. Yeah, that's my good friend and colleague David Parry, and I'm Alan Cox, and it's a Sunday morning, and the sun is shining, and thank goodness from my point of view, uh, it's not quite as hot today. I'm afraid. I like the sunshine, but I just can't deal with the heat. But our house is pretty cool actually, so we're fortunate there. Anyway, good morning, David.
Morning, Alan. I must admit, I was tickled pink.
Hello, David.
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right.
I can,
I've been
indeed.
I've been tickled pink by my prophetic powers over the last couple of days. I mean, it's a rainy morning here, but we've
Oh,
had
right, okay.
basically Riviera weather here. It's been like Italy in the spring, so it's been warm but not baking, and everything's been
Yes.
radiant. And I remember telling my brother before we moved up here, you lot are going to fry when global warming hits. And I now feel like a prophet this morning because everybody, of course, has been frying down there. And I remember saying to them, we'll end up having continental summers. But that's what's happening. So,
Yeah. We are fortunate where we live, in the sense that it has been hot. I'm not a lover of the heat, you know, but the house is cool, amazingly. Um, the back of the house where the dining room and the office is, in the morning it has all the sun, and in the afternoon the front of the house gets it. Um, but we've got two rooms. We've got like doors you can open and have it as a through room, which we normally keep it like that. And so if you sit near where the two rooms meet, it's lovely and cool just there. So that's that's where didn't venture out outside yesterday. Watered the gardens about 9 o'clock last night, but other than that, stayed in.
that's
So
beautifully British of you, Alan, watering the garden in the evening.
that's right. We had rain. We did have some rain yesterday, not a lot. We had some, and we're supposed to get some later on today. But it will be welcome because it'll be fresher. But and you see it saw it on the news on the TV. People down on the south coast, and they're on. I think it was Broadstairs. They've got the cameras there, and there's people lying on the beach, putting on the Factor 15 sun cream and that, and they look like there was going to be roasted chickens, and you could serve them up for lunch. And I thought, what's the enjoyment in that? Just I can't understand people, but
Well, I mean, there's definite mania in the British. Good morning, Dave Moriarty.
yes. Good morning,
Um,
Dave.
I mean, if there's a bit of sunshine, you've got to roast until you need hospitalisation. I mean, that's called a mania. That's not called healthy sunbathing. And it was
I,
in RoboCop. I think it was in RoboCop 2, the movie. 'Cause I think everybody used to watch those because of the adverts. They were so witty. And there
I've
was one.
never seen it.
Oh, I mean, don't forget, sometimes science fiction is doing things, it's not meant to, or rather, it's doing things in a very clever way. So it's set in the near future. But, when Law and Order has just gone out the window, so it's not too far ahead, I imagine. And with the adverts for these terrible corporations, there's what the ozone layer's collapsed because nobody's listened to the naturalists. What a surprise. And there's one silly cow covering herself with this thick green ointment, and it's factor 700 or something. And she says, "Hey, see you by the pool," but you just see this woman covered in green jelly. It's exactly because it's the only safe thing you can do in their world.
Oh, dear me. Oh,
So anyway, Alan, I think we've got to mention that these are sad times.
very much so. Yes, it's uh, the world is in total disarray at the moment. I know we've got the main. I, what gets me about the media is that the Ukraine Russia war is still going on, and innocent people on both sides are getting killed still. But that don't hit the news anymore because we're tired of telling you about that. So then they go on to Israel Hamas, and well, now we're getting tired of telling you about that. So now we'll have the Israel Iran uh, war, we will, and that's what it. And is it human nature? But do our minds sometimes think because it's not in the news, it's not happening? I mean, there's conflicts, wars going on all over the world, in Africa, South America, you know, uh, everywhere. There's one been going on over in uh, Eurasia now for years and years between two of the countries there. But that never hits the news over here. Um, the world is in quite a disarray at the moment, David.
I mean, what you said there is 100% true and terribly, terribly sad. Western journalists need horsewhipping. They don't mind stirring up trouble. It does have an effect. Just to get some headlines, I think it's absolutely disgusting. And they take sides. I mean, you must remember the old days, along with me, Alan, where that was absolutely forbidden. You know, it was
Yes,
an unwritten law. You tried to be objective, not deliver an agenda. Whatever happened to all of that? And sadly, and I'm not a BBC hater. I know lots of people are. I know lots of people. I used to know even more that work at the BBC that work their asses off to make the world a better place. But even the BBC, I've got to say it. You can't really say it's impartial nowadays,
no,
which is terrible. I mean, therefore we can't rely on any of them. Point one. And point two, they're all serving their own agenda, whatever that happens to be. Um,
yes,
no, these are terribly, terribly depressing times, particularly maybe for us Brits, because we're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. We're throwing away. I mean, are we so desperate to be a state of America that we're willing to throw everything away? I mean, I personally don't want that. I don't know what you think, Alan.
I agree with you. America over the years has been a good ally because the majority of Americans, uh, their ancestors come from over here. So there's always been a close tie. But now it seems like that close tie, it's almost like we've been dragged into being, as you say, part of them, and just go along basically with everything that they do. Um, I mean, going back to the Second World War, right? I mean, the Americans didn't come into the war, wasn't it, until 1944, I think. The war, the war had already been raging for 5 years at that point, and that come in, and I was very welcome. Hawaii was bombed by the Japanese. Then they thought, oh, we better do something about this. But then afterwards, they make it sound like they're the ones that did everything and won the war for the world. It's I don't know. It's they're a very strange nation. Um, they've always seemed to have the reputation of being the peacekeepers of the world, like the main police force. Um, I think now, in lots of ways, they're overstepping that mark.
That was very diplomatic. I'm proud of you, Alan. That's a real Jimmy Young moment. Um, I'm going to say a quick prayer, um, because I still believe in international law. I mean, it's in tatters this morning, and we all know why. And I still believe in a God that loves everyone, not just my tribe, not just my side, that loves everyone. And I remember in the Gospel of Matthew, it says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, because they will be called the children of God." I don't think all that can be just forgotten by the expediency of the moment. And I'd like to say, basically, Blessed Virgin, as someone who's trying to be a good Catholic, I hope you'll listen to my prayers this morning. And please bring peace and understanding to the Middle East. May all sides see that there's no better route than mutual understanding. And please fill people's hearts with mutual respect and the need and want for love amongst everybody, because it really is the only way forward. And I beg of you that in the name of Jesus of Nazareth. Amen. Also, I'd like to read a prayer from my other half. Please pray for Iran and everyone in conflict. Thank you, Daniele. Thank you. These are sad times. I mean, I suppose there are two things to address what you said. I mean, you can only be the global policeman. I mean, we Brits tried it for a while. I mean, there's a difference between what the Americans are doing and what we were doing. And I'm not defending the British Empire. I mean, did we do lots of good things? Yes, we did. We did lots of terrible things. Sadly, that's human life as it is at the minute, until better days come along. But what we were doing was based on trade. I mean, that people tend to forget that the British Empire was all about trade. It wasn't about conquest, and it wasn't about you do what we want or else, which is one of the reasons it was so successful. We did some terrible things in India, but we've always had a love affair with India. And, I mean, the princes of India were basically queuing up to have tea with Queen Victoria. No one is doing that with the American regime at the minute, which should be telling us someone. You've got to ask or have a reason to be the world policeman, not just be a bully. I think it's terribly sad that America has attacked Iran. I mean, that means we're the aggressors. It doesn't mean it's Israel that did it. It means the Americans did it. And I don't know. You can't say you're peacemakers and then bomb people who haven't declared any problems with you. In fact, as far as I remember, that regime, far from good, far from a good regime. The Iranians have had lots of problems for a long time now. I mean, the Shah was basically a monster, and these people came along and they were nearly as bad. So the Iranian people have had a lot of problems over the last couple of years. But what you can't do is just enforce your will whenever you feel like it. I mean, because where does it end? I'm not comparing any American politician to Hitler, because actually that doesn't work. But that is what the Nazi Party used to do. Agree with us or attack you. If everybody starts doing that, the world will turn into chaos and hell overnight. There has to be reason and measure in what we do, or there isn't much hope at all. I don't know what you think of that, Alan.
I do agree. I know that I understand that Iran is perhaps a volatile country in the sense of their leadership wants it to be a very strict state, and they impose their will on their own people. I suppose I can understand the dangers with nuclear weapons, but the fact is there's the administration of Iran at the moment is totally anti the West completely. So if a Western country attacks them, then they're going to put all of Western countries tar it with the same brush. So we all become possible targets. And then everything escalates. And they need to sit down at a table and come to a peaceful conclusion to this. Because, we're not talking possibly about hundreds or thousands of people dying. There's every possibility this could run into a million or more people. And that's the last thing that this world needs at all. So I think a bit of common sense, sit down, talk, and agree that the world isn't perfect, but surely we could find a way that people can live alongside one another without tearing the heart out of each other.
Yeah, but we see, I agree with that, but the problem with that is we attack them, not the other way around.
Yeah, no,
they're strict with their
accept
own
that.
people.
Well, when you say we, when you say we, I mean it was Israel. No, I say.
Well, no, Israel
we,
and America.
Israel.
It is now two countries, Israel and America, and
but
both of those countries.
We are not one. We are not America and we're not Israel.
Well, no, hopefully not. Hopefully not. No, very good point, Alan. The point is, if you're being attacked, how can you sit down and make peace? Because you're the victim. Yes. How can you trust what people are saying if they're attacking you out the blue? I think there's a lot of self-delusion in the West at the minute. The Americans are not self-evidently the good guys. It's not true. Maybe once, but not now. And I'll tell you what. I'll just finish this bit. It could get worse and worse. It could get worse and worse and worse because, of course, all the fossil fuels, etc., that come from that part of the world. That's why I think the media is drifting towards this conflict, because it could bring the whole global system down. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah. No, I agree there. There's always normally a financial motive as well as a political motive. But I don't know whether you realise, but when this started with Israel attacking Iran, for very briefly, and it was so briefly, and a lot of people might have missed this, the media tried to say that it was Iran that attacked Israel. And then literally within an hour or something like that, the narrative altered to, okay, it's Israel who attacked Iran. But the media was trying to say it was the other way around. And I think there's quite a lot of people who are still under the misapprehension that it was Iran who started this.
That's why this is such a terrible and tragic situation. Well said, by the way, Alan. Well said. Dave Moriarty has just typed in, the United States does not have friends, only interests. That's a depressing comment. Sadly, I think that's becoming the case. I'm not sure I'd agree with that 100%. There are lots of good people in America too. We mustn't lose sight of that. We mustn't lose sight of the fact there are good people everywhere.
I've got good friends in America, quite a few good friends, who will be absolutely appalled at what's happening. Very, very spiritual, kind people who I'm proud to say they're my friends. But, just like us, you vote an administration in, and then you have to put up with what they do for, in our case, 5 years, their case, 4 years. So let's say...
you vote people in because of what they say. He was adamant that none of this would happen. Yeah. What was it? This America First idea is obviously pure nonsense. He's not putting America first. No more wars. So those are two things that Mr. Trump has deliberately broken. I remember people on podcasts, looking at people on American podcasts, going on and on about the fact that they wouldn't intervene anymore because of all the lives and all the costs. But that's what's happening. Very depressing, Alan. Very depressing.
Yeah, yes, it is. I think it is times like these that's always, in a way, amazes me, is that a lot of people who say either they don't believe in God or they say that religion is a waste of time. A lot of people turn to God, turn to religion, turn to praying, turn to spirit, because at the end of it all, where else do you turn to? Um, you can't just turn to another human being expect them to solve it all. So there has to be a higher power. Now they say that one thing is, they say that we're made in God's image, but we've got the freedom to do whatever we want. If you go back, especially into the Old Testament, God certainly showed his wrath in quite a few ways against people who were not as they should be. Should he show his wrath now? Should he put an end to all this, or is that impossible? Can't he do that?
Right. I mean,
I don't know what you think. That
there's nothing God can't do. Otherwise, he wouldn't be God. We'd be talking about something else.
Yeah.
I mean, my trouble with American evangelicals, which has been growing over the years, is they're trying to provoke the end times. They're trying to initiate the end times.
Yes.
So they want all this to prove they're right. We were all wrong and they were right. How wonderful. But I mean, I doubt if they are. I mean, all this nonsense about pre-tribulation or post-tribulation. Will all the Yanks in the Bible Belt be whisked off to paradise before any nastiness starts? That's pre-tribulation. I mean, it's all nonsense. Nobody was really challenging it because the evangelical lobby, they call it Big Ava in America, had so much power and money that unless it was in your interest, you didn't really tackle it. But it needed tackling. I mean, it wouldn't matter if people are uneducated, provided they're not pig ignorant and warlike. Then it does matter, because those things must be challenged, and people must say, no, that's not true, and enough's enough. Also, I mean, Christians rely on the New Testament, not the Old Testament. We accept the Old Testament as the inspired books of the Hebrew people, and without the Hebrew people who are sent by God, who are of God, we wouldn't have received who we believe is the Saviour, Jesus Christ. Yeah. But we look at the New Testament, not the Old Testament. What's interesting about the Old Testament is most of the prophets, of course, were murdered by the children of Israel. That's not saying they're all wicked. It's saying they weren't listening. I mean, maybe there's wickedness there somewhere, but they weren't listening. Or I notice what hardly anybody's saying is all the prophets were continually moaning about the fact that their view of God was too small. No, that's not right. Think bigger, think wider, think bigger, think wider. And that was, so don't think of this tribal God that beats people up or reduces people to ashes if they're not Jewish. All the prophets were saying that's wrong in their own way. But we don't even get involved in that debate because we think we've heard from the horse's mouth. And what did the horse's mouth say? Blessed are the peacemakers. There we are. Bless those that curse you, love those that hate you. Therefore, I mean, Ted Cruz, an American senator, was on American TV recently, arguing with, what's that man's name again? Tucker Carlson.
Oh, yes.
And he's saying he's a Christian. What type of Christian are you exactly? And he couldn't even work out the difference between the political regime of Israel and Judaism through history. I mean, that's a pretty poor thing to not understand. And he was saying weird things like it's the duty of a Christian to defend Israel. Where does it say that exactly? There was no Christianity when the Old Testament was written, so it cannot say that, you know. And also, that's again looking at the Old Testament views with their tribal God as opposed to what Jesus was talking about, you know, not denying that a revelation was working its way through the Hebrew people, but saying, look, it's not come to fruition yet. It's bigger, it's wider, it's more beautiful you can ever imagine, you know, and that we've got to be careful as Christians not to be caught on the ignorance of Sunday school, because not all of them are enlightened, and the fact we don't really think about these things but want to score points, because that is not Christianity. Alan, I agree with you. As at times like this, people turn to the Spirit. I mean, they're impoverished if they don't anyway. I mean, it's like sort of not going to the gym, or, you know, there's something missing in your life, or it's like not eating properly. If you don't have room for the Spirit in your life, then you're not really a full human being. I agree. And also at times of crisis, people do. Let's hope, I don't know what you think about this, let's hope that more people feel inspired to ask bigger questions over the next week or so. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. Okay, Israel and America have shown their might and their wrath. Let's just hope that somebody there has got enough influence over Trump to say, you know, come on, enough's enough now. You know, stop it, because the alternative could be absolutely, I don't know, beyond terrible. I think there isn't even a word that can even justify what could happen. It's very frightening times. Very frightening times.
Well, I mean, people are playing with Pandora's box. I mean, certainly I don't think once you've attacked someone, you can just say enough's enough, if only. You know, the Americans have attacked Iran, so now they're in a state of war with Iran. What do they expect the Iranians to do? I mean, they've been attacked. So, I mean, it's not that simple. Again, if only it was. And we're going to have to see. I mean, at the very least, I think we're looking at a major regional war, which will benefit nobody. And as I say, it brings down the global economy. I mean, on a really awful, selfish level, I mean, the prices will instantly shoot through the roof now.
Exactly.
When there's no oil and when there's no gas and all the rest of it, you know, the global economy will go into overload. If you're rich, by the way, that won't affect you. You make adjustments. People have got to stop telling themselves they're rich when they're not. The rest of us will be fighting for what we can get in this nightmare. And, you know, let's hope it doesn't take the step beyond a regional conflict, because then we are looking at hell. What do you think?
A lot of people think, well, Iran's a long way from America, so America have got nothing to worry about. But there's bases all around in other countries, geographically, shall we say, near to Iran, that Iran can attack. There's other islands, etc. Might be 1,000 miles away, something, but Iran are capable of reaching those, which are controlled part of what the class as America. So America can be it, and American citizens of those countries can become part of this war. So I don't know if Trump thinks that America are immune from it, but by no means are they at all.
Well, I mean, it just amazes me that, as we were saying off air, he gave them 2 weeks to respond. That wasn't 2 weeks. You know, he said he was thinking about it, and he did it. I mean, America officially was not in conflict with Iran. Now they are.
Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult to work out the reasoning behind that. I mean, the trouble is he's still listening to the same advisors that said war, you know, who are trying to bolster up Zelensky in Ukraine. All his advisors said that would be over in a couple of weeks. I mean, they've got this weird view, like kids in a schoolyard, that you just walk up to somebody and one punch, one blow sends them to the ground and they'll instantly do what you say afterwards. I
Mind
mean,
you, Putin was of the same mind where he thought he could just walk
oh,
into
Alan, yeah, I'm not letting any of these nasty old men off the hook. I'm not letting any of them off the hook. You know, but you know, in terms of American advisors, I mean, let's face it, Ukraine is a bloodbath and a nightmare and a disaster already. And it's the same advisors that were saying that about Ukraine that have said that about Iran. Why
Yeah.
is he still listening to them? Why haven't they been sacked? You know, I mean, this is ludicrous.
Do you
Their
think?
advice has been wrong again and again and again and again and again, and they're still listened to. So I don't know what the Americans think they're doing, because it's not working. There we are, America. Put it that way. It's not working.
No, the next I don't know 48 hours I think is going to be very critical to what's going to happen because Iran are not going to take this line down, are they?
Well, you see, I don't think they can, for the simple reason: if you're the person, if you're the one being attacked, you don't know what the people attacking you will do next. So, you know, it's different if you're the victim and you keep being attacked. You can't really not fight back because you don't know what will happen. I mean, that's why this makes no
Yeah.
sense. It makes no sense at all.
No, I, well, I agree with what you said about the bullies in the playground because that's exactly in a sense what it is. You have to stand up to the bullies. I mean, I can remember when I was at school and I was bullied, and it went on probably for about 3 months or so, demanding my pocket money. And then these two brothers, I thought, oh, we'll ask him for, we'll demand more of him. So when I went into school on the Monday, they said, okay, come on, Cox, hand over your money. I said, no. I said, what do you mean, no? I said, if you're going to beat me up, beat me up. I said, you ain't nothing else off of me now. And these bullies kind of just shrunk away. And I thought, yeah, I should have stood up to you before. And so you have to stand up to bullies, don't you? And you have to be prepared to fight. Going back, being an adult, going back some years ago, uh, I was at an event. Anne was with me, and the organizer of the event wanted Anne to go out onto the stage and do a talk. And she says, no, no, I'm not going to. I don't want to do that. So he grabbed her arm to force her up there. So I said, will you leave her alone, please? She's told you she doesn't want to do it. So I remember it was over in Leicestershire. It was snow on the ground. It had been snowing, and he said, "Right, okay, come outside." I said, "All right then, okay, come on, let's go outside." So I stood there. I said, "If you're going to hit me." And he suddenly come towards me, put his hands gently on my face, and kissed me on the lips. And he says, "Let's be friends." I said, "Yeah, okay." So these bullies, some of them, that's it, isn't it? They are just that, the bullies, and if you confront them, they will go down. Now, whether that actually works the same when you're talking about countries, I'm not 100% sure, but you can't put up with bullies, David. You can't put up with them.
Well, no, I mean, I was bullied at school, but as a gay, I think they all knew I was gay. Looking back, as a gay pacifist, I decided the best policy for my part was to slap the guy to the floor so he couldn't get up again, and he didn't. So, so and I've always been quite big. So, yeah, there are many ways of dealing with bullies. No, I mean, Alan, it just shows us spiritual types are desperate to try and find a way out of it. I don't know what the way out of it is for those countries. I mean, let's hope they can find a way out of this mess over the next couple of days, over the next week or so, because it must be stopped. You know, what we don't want is other Arabic countries to feel, well, the Iranians, I mean, the Iranians aren't Arabic, you know, other Muslim countries, forgive me. They don't, you know, is the world of Islam being attacked? I mean, the trouble is it is. I mean, we keep attacking them, not the other way around. You know, therefore we're attacking yet another Islamic country. Therefore, you end up with the Saudis, and you end up, because that's major oil all of a sudden, you end up with the Qataris, Kuwaitis, you end up with them saying, well, enough's enough, hang on here. You know, and I noticed the other day, Pakistan, which of course is a Muslim country, threatened, and it has nuclear weapons, threatened to nuke Israel. I mean, we certainly don't want that starting. You know, and I don't know, it just strikes me Americans are used to Jewish culture. They're not used to Islamic culture. I mean, is it racism? Is it where they're afraid of the unknown? It's hard to believe nowadays. I mean, there's loads of Muslims living in America. You know, the trouble is partly those are sensitive countries because of their resources. That's partly the trouble here. And, you know, people are all guarding their own interests, but I think there might be better ways to guard your interests than just attacking like a bully. I think there are probably, you know, whatever happened to the old diplomacy? You know, people used to get things done. Again, going back to the British Empire, which did some terrible things. I mean, I'm thinking primarily of the Amrita massacre, where pilgrims going on. I like Sikhs. Sikhs are gorgeous people.
Yes, I
You know,
agree.
pilgrims. You know, they're noble. I mean, they're all warriors, but they think finding peace is way above war. I mean, what wonderful people. I like Sikhs. You know, I mean, there was one rogue British general, because it was during the time of Gandhi, of course. So all they were really saying at that point was they wanted equal places in some sort of assembly. That's really all they were saying. And what he did one day was turn up with his troops and fire on men, women, and children, all of whom were unarmed. And they were going to the temple to pray, or leaving the temple, the Golden Temple itself, the main shrine of the Sikhs. And it was an international scandal, as you can imagine. What amazed me, because I followed that story up, was that he didn't know he'd done wrong. And he was looking forward to meeting his maker on the other side to see if he did right or wrong that day, because he was trying to send a message, I quote, to these people to keep them in their place. Nobody said these people need to be kept in their place. Yeah. I don't think he was court-martialed. I mean, as far as I remember, there was a commission where it came up that, you know, was provision made. Now, that's military talk for, you know, were there people on hand to give medical assistance? And he said no provision wasn't made at first. And then one of the, I mean, they wouldn't really have been judges. They'd have been like assessors, military assessors. You know, I mean, well, you know, if 3-year-olds were being gunned down, you know, you can't just expect them to not be assisted and not want aid. Yeah. And he didn't know how to answer that. You know, so the Sikhs would be even more friendly with us if it wasn't for things like that, if the British Empire hadn't done things like that. I notice, I mean, we did the bad. The good bit was that we completely rejected that man and his way of thinking. But of course, that was what made Gandhi say, okay, enough's enough. Now we want complete independence. You know, it's not like these things don't have effects. They do. I'm saying that because at the end of the day, again, and, you know, give an example of where Britain did something terribly wrong. At the end of the day, we were based on trade, and it was important to us to keep trade going, not national interests at a global level. What do you think, Alan?
I'm sorry, I put my sound on mute because I was just doing a really big sneeze. I apologise. Oh dear me. Yeah, I'm
You're
recovering
allowed
from
to
it now.
sneeze, man. You're allowed to sneeze, for
Yeah,
heaven's sake.
I know. I don't think everybody wants to hear me sneezing. Oh dear me. No, I going listening to what you were saying. Um, yes, we're certainly not an innocent country by far. I think we, I think um, when we started to venture overseas to the third world, etc., there would be some people there who wanted to do the right things by the people that they come across, who, and then there would be the ones with avarice who just basically wanted to take everything good away from them. Uh, I think that I think Britain um, became great in terminology simply on the back of other countries' wealth by taking a lot of their wealth away from them. Um, is that acceptable? No, of course it isn't. But did they try to give something back? I think they did to a degree, um, like you've said there. But as long as the natives, if you want to call the people that towed the line, then they would give them something back that really belonged to themselves. So we've got nothing to be proud of over the centuries, David.
Well, curiously, I wouldn't go that far. I think we've got things to be very proud of. Um, I just wish we would focus on those things and expand them. I mean, the idea of the Commonwealth, which isn't a Commonwealth, I mean, it's lining people's pockets in Westminster and the King. If we could get that going really, not only would that be putting things back into the system, but we'd really be making an international family of countries. That was a brilliant idea. It's not that there are wicked people. There are wicked people everywhere, but there were some good people, some extremely good people, and there were some people with their eyes on the future, not just the moment, not just what's happening now and what I get out of it. That's the trouble with the world as we are in at the minute. And that's true of these mad old men in every country that just want bloodshed. We actually did some good things too, but we accentuate the positive. Why can't we see those projects through? I mean, if King Charles was a proper king, I keep on about that at the minute. I mean, I'd actually approve of the monarchy if it was a proper monarchy. Now, we talked about that before. I don't mean someone like Henry VIII. Those were more simple times when bullies could just get away with things. Although, curiously, I think his position was incredibly complex. But, thinking of modern people, like in some countries like the Dutch, the royal family symbolizes something. It's the stabilizing force. Now, if we had a royal family like that, in other words, that we had a constitution that's bloody written down, can we please write it down? And then the king, the royal family, represents that. Somehow they're above politics. They represent the things we all agree on. What a marvelous step forward that would be. I mean, he's got to stop worrying about his billions. If you're a billionaire,
Yes.
there's no need to worry. Stop worrying about it. You know, and if he could actually be a real king and say, right, let's talk Turkey now, and get some things done. If he did things like that, I'd approve of the monarchy. But it's where nobody wants to. I mean, he keeps playing the old hippie card, but there's no evidence. Do you really care about things? And people show it. Not in this half-assed way where you turn up to a Muslim mosque, You turn up to a Muslim mosque. You turn up to a mosque during Ramadan and eat food after sunset. Whatever, anyone can do that. Show who you are, what you are, and in the right way, get the Commonwealth going. It's not true the man is powerless. That is something the royal family want us to think, and they're too busy playing duplicitous games with us about they're not worth this and they're not worth that. It can all be checked now. We know what you're worth roughly. Like Princess Anne, she doesn't really live in a palace. She lives in rooms. Well, that's true of Buckingham Palace. What about the others? Stop treating us all like children. Stop treating us all like fools and do your job. And maybe you'd have some adult respect and not just simpleton going along with the show because there's nothing else they can do. What do you think, Alan? Are you there? Are you there? Well, until Alan comes back, I'd like to say if we get any Muslim listeners or any Jewish listeners, any Ukrainian listeners, any Russian listeners, anyone in
Hello. If you're wondering oh, if you wonder what's been going on, um, I was writing a reply to Dave Moriarty, and suddenly it went off completely. When I say off completely, I mean back to my screensaver on my computer, and there was nothing there at all. So for the last 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, apparently the show has been running in the background as myself, David, and Dan have been trying our hardest to get everything running. So I think there might be some powers that be that don't like what we're talking about. Anyway, we're going to end the show. The most strangest show out ever. Uh, God bless you all. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Dave. It's lovely to have you with us each week. And I hope you're enjoying the shows. And thank you very much for your support. Have a lovely Sunday. Bye for now.